Hey everyone, my name is Mango TFT. I'm joined today by my friend John, aka Skinkle. He is a multi-set double up challenger. I also reached challenger with him last set. Learned a lot about double up from him and just playing against some of the better people on the ladder. We wanted to share some of this info today just because there are a lot of changes. Double up's kind of getting some special treatment and some updates. So it does function a bit differently than solo. So we'll go through some of these changes and then some of the boards we think will be staples throughout the set. So cool. Starting off, the major change is this cannon. The biggest difference now, we are back to being able to send items. You used to be able to a long time ago. You can send units on a cooldown. Importantly, though, you can't send spat, radiant, or artifacts, so you can't just stack one player and have the other guy just stall. And then about the cooldowns, it is 4 turns for a 1 star and then 6 turns for a 2 or 3 star, regardless of the actual cost of the unit. So cool. Moving on with gifts.
So the gifts are a little different this set compared to last. I believe last set it was every stage, starting in stage 3, you would get a send, whereas now the sends are only 3-4, 3-5, 5-2, and 5-3. This is actually a pretty impactful change in my opinion, just because you won't get a send in stage 4, obviously. And stage 4 is a lot of times, sort of where your game can be decided in terms of your health. So it's important to just remember that in that stage, even though these sends are pretty powerful, in terms of the things you can get, you're not going to get one in stage 4. So you want to make sure, that you have a stable board, and that you're going to be able to live to actually get your next send.
Cool. Yeah, and I think one thing to note is these are pretty big change in tempo, because before they did cost gold, and although the gold you were spending was often outweighed by the value of what you were sending, but now they're completely free, and we can see in this example there's 3 forecasts, right? So you're just sending 12 gold and potentially upgrades or forecasts that you need. So it can be very big. And then last two quickly, I just touch on custom lobbies, which is awesome. Before, you would have to try to queue snipe your friends if you wanted to play with each other. Now you can just have a full in-house lobby, which is awesome. And then lastly, this isn't double up specific, but it's worth noting that pan emblems now have a unique effect. So for example, rapid fire, the trait itself does not gain attack range, but with the frying pan and the bow, you actually get attack range. So you can do things like ranged Nefiri, which is kind of functions like Nocturne last set. So cool.
Yeah, the strategist one is also insane.
Yeah, that is true. Cool. We'll go through now what some of the staple boards we think we'll see a lot this set, and we'll start with one I think is going to be played a ton. It's going to be NITRO reroll of some variety.
Yeah. So I played a lot of Nitro on PvE, and I think it's a fun comp to play. Obviously, it's the summon comp of the set. The popular way to play it right now is with JHIN, because he just got a bunch of buffs. This is still PvE, and he just fits in well with the Dynamo, and you can get an Exotech in there easily. I have the one Exotech item on him here, but he can use a couple of others. Obviously, you wouldn't want to put a tank one or I forget what the other ones are, but there are some that are good and there's some that aren't. But I guess the important thing to think about with this comp is you're going to be re-rolling a lot of low-cost units, and it scales sort of based on their star level and how long you've had them, essentially, because the T-Rex will get stronger every turn based on each unit's star level. So you want to be spamming re-rolling a lot. You probably want to save up stage 2, and then I usually roll down pretty deep stage 3 at the beginning, at least to 33 gold is kind of the magic number there. And then depending on how close you are to other things, you can keep digging, or if not, then you can just go to 5 and start to roll for your units there. Obviously, good augments with this comp would be spare parts. This one's like insane. It gives you another summon basically, and it has like a 3-5 average placement right now. I'm sure that'll change at some point, but it's very strong right now. And Starry Night is definitely good because the faster you hit the units, the better. Starry Night, will just make it so you can see some two stars in your shop, and you really want to be scaling up that T hex, as fast as possible. That's definitely one of the most important things with this comp. Cool. If you have anything to add, Braden, then yeah, go for it. But I think that's probably the most important stuff for this comp.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense. The other, like, if you just have a lot of Nitro units early, you can just stay low level and make sure you abuse your sends. Send early, send often. Don't necessarily have to greed for a 2-star. You can just send one to star something up and start getting more chrome. I think there's another version worth noting where you really just full carry Nidalee. So if you have Nidalee 3,
yeah, good call.
And then you play like Hodge generic fighter items, AP fighter, and then you would fill out the rest instead of you would keep Neferi, but
you would still keep Neferi. You drop the Jhin,
right?
Probably the Sedge.
Yep.
Or I guess maybe not the Sedge because you could still get bashed in that way. But right. I don't know. Really, everything aside from your Nitro units, it's essentially flex slots, but you really want to be playing around either amp or Jhin right now. If there's something else that comes up, then
I agree.
And that.
Cool. We'll go into another reroll. We kind of have this broken up into 2 rerolls, 2 flex fast 8s, and then 2 just vertical comps that we think we're going to see all set. So number 2, this one's fun. I played it a lot early on PvE. Just really VEIGAR reroll, and I kind of have the earlier version of this board. You would obviously play it with any of the Cyber Boss augments as well, but you're really just playing around 4 Bastion, 4 Techie. 4 Bastion did get a recent nerf, so I don't know how strong if it's gonna change to maybe some flex slots, but really you have some pretty obvious upgrades. You are gonna just reroll Shyvana and VEIGAR. It is tough because if there are Nitro players, Shyvana might be difficult, so you can always look for a Lowy. Early you'll play Jax, and then later, you'd upgrade that to like Sedge. Mord you would upgrade late game to Viego, which I think with the Sens is realistic in double up, and then lastly Seraphine would be something like a Brand. You're just upgrading 1 for 1 of these units. Most important thing really about VEIGAR is that he does true damage on his ability, which is interesting. But then if he has a higher star level, he does even more. So it jumps from 25% to 40%. So if you get something like Manazane, 3-star VEIGAR with this Poppy in to give him the Cyber Boss upgrade where he hits adjacent units, he will just actually blow a hole through the front line, and you can just win all of stage 3, stage 4, and then maybe cap around Viego and things on stage 5.
Yeah, the only thing that before we go to like the level 8 kind of flex comps and then the vertical comps, just because it is we're kind of looking at things like from a double up perspective. It's just important to note, I guess, that any reroll comp that you play is going to be stronger if your partner is also playing reroll. Obviously, because you will be kind of rolling for similar cost units, and you'll also be taking units of the same cost out of the pool that the other player could potentially be looking in that pool for. Mm-hmm. So it's very beneficial to either both be playing reroll or both be fast leveling.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's overlooked for sure. Even, it's a fine balance, right, between forcing similar reroll, but if you both have a reroll spot, you can just absolutely clobber the board because you just hit your board a whole stage before the entire lobby. So
yeah, it's definitely not necessary, but it is helpful
for sure. Cool. All right, we'll move into the fast 8 comps. Let me get rid of that. Sorry. Okay, so start with kind of the most generic AD flex line. It's just a classic 4 front, 4 back, 4 marksman, 4 vanguard. There are some side synergies that tie in well, like the Anima Squad and Golden Ox. You can start kind of rolling for that Golden Ox spike every turn, depending on your spot. This really is the kind of comp you want to go for if you just kind of have a good tempo opener. Let's say you have a Ginsu Slam or an IE Slam stage 2 with some upgrades. like a Vanguard opener. It's super easy to play. There are also like a ton of flex slots in the sense that like when you go 9, you can add legendaries. Something like Garen would be good, obviously, but you can also just completely drop like these 2 marksmen if you need, something else. If you need more frontline, if you, let's say you hit a better unit, you can just entirely play around that with these 2 slots here. I think Aphelios really likes Ginsu's. He likes any attack speed generally. He's a very good holder of Gunblade as well. And then Xayah really, she can hold Shojin. She holds it well for sure, but you don't need to like greed it. She can function extremely well with just like pure 3 damage items, like anything like this. In this example, I have Leona holding the Even Shroud because generally in a front to back comp, you're going to be hitting the units that are Even Shrouded. So you don't really need Last Whisper as much, and it frees up, that bow for something like Aphelios. One other thing to note, this comp functions really well with extra items, obviously, because you have 2 really strong backline carries that are both 4 costs. And then you also have like a decent secondary tank with Jarvan, or when you go 9, a legendary, like something like Zac. So augments to look out for: Flatline, which is the Marksman augment, Execute, and Reactive Shield, which is like Shield Bash from last set. Cool. Moving on to the AP side of things.
Oh, is this me or you? I forget.
Yeah, if you want to talk about this, I mean, it's just
yeah, this is definitely another flex line. Whenever I've played it, I kind of played it out of having some early amp upgrades. Like, I think I had just like an upgraded, either an upgraded Nidalee and an upgraded Nefiri, one of the two, and then probably like a Yuumi. So you can end up playing some like Anima Squad early game with it also. Just because Anima Squad, the weapons are, at least right now, very busted. So that can kind of carry you through your early game, especially because, there's a lot of high cost units, that you're looking at on this board here. So this is kind of where you want to get to, but you're going to have to play a lot of different units along the way, most likely. But really just maxing out the amount of strategists and the amount of amp that you have on the board, sort of with as high cost units as possible, is going to be like the general strategy for this board. 10,000 IQ is strong. It is risky though, because you do need to guess whether you're going to win more or lose more in the next 5 rounds. Which it can be beneficial, especially if you kind of don't have a great start and you hit that augment and you want to play something out of a loss streak. Then you can use that to kind of propel yourself to level 8 and 9 and actually hit the units that make this board strong.
Yep, I agree, and I think there are a lot of flex slots. I think Strategist is just like the most flexible trait, and it has a lot really easy tie-ins because Echo and Nico are clones, just Street Demon Strategists. So you're gonna get a third Street Demon in, and like around your early game, you could play around Street Demon, you could play around Amp, as you were saying, you could play around just like general AP opener. If you have Seraphine 2 and like techies, but you don't really want to reroll techies or anything like that, you can kind of play towards this board. Pretty much everything on this board can be swapped except for this is kind of your core on the right. Eventually you want to get to Samira and try to cap around it with some of your extra items, but everything else can kind of be adjusted as needed.
Yeah, and I definitely do feel like Samira, if you can actually get to a Samira with items, it's its traits activated, it's definitely a beast.
Yep, I agree.
So
cool.
So that's a good way to cap the board.
Awesome. All right. Now we have 2 more vertical style comps. I'll tackle the first one here with Anima Squad. This is probably the easiest comp to play in the game. You just click Anima Squad units and put them in, and even if you are bad at making good items or bad at general TFT fundamentals, the trait itself will carry you pretty far. Anima Squad, you probably are aware, but they get these essentially these weapons that are from the Swarm game mode. They get just general armor, MR, damage amp, so it just helps the whole team, and the items can carry you. If you get like early 5 Anima Squad with or without an emblem, you just get a free streak a lot of the time. You retain health. There are two actual augments for it. The support spire, which is interesting. It's a little harder to value than the other, but I think it is strong. I played it before and it's noticeable. And then power leveling, where when you actually get takedowns, you get these little sellable orbs like Old Bard, and you get XP off of it, and you just get scaling attack speed for your player levels across your entire board because you're just playing vertical. One thing to note, I have the Seraphine in here. If you don't have +1, you would just play, this Seraphine. I don't think it's as good without a +1. I think +1 helps. And then the other interesting thing to note is JHIN is actually a really good open slot, your 8th slot, because he fits perfectly with Xayah and Aurora, sharing traits with each of them. Yeah, other than that, it's pretty easy. Xayah, same as before, just general AD items. I think IE is very important on her, just the way her ability functions. And again, this is also pretty important in my opinion. You can play around a lot of these units, but it's important to note you kind of want to get the same damage profile of weapons. You'll usually get a magic and a physical, and based on what shred you can make, if you can slam a shred item, that generally helps. So if you have Shiv early or something, you can play around getting those magic upgrades, and then something like Last Whisper, you could do the physical upgrades. But I'm sure eventually, as people learn the set more, we'll kind of know what weapons are just generally better and provide more value. But as of right now, it's kind of anyone's guess. They just feel strong.
Yeah. Also, I'll just because this applies to this comp and the next comp that we're talking about. I think that these kind of fast 8 fast 8 vertical comps, I actually think are stronger in double up a lot of the time, just because the thing that makes these comps strong is obviously kind of getting in 7 Anima Squad and getting in 7 Street Demon, and with having things like the 3/5 cost send, the 3/4 cost send, like Braden mentioned earlier, the other items that you can get in double up. It's sort of like you're not as gated off by the things that you might be in a solo game. You also obviously have the ice block, so you can potentially live another turn to get the units in that you need. So I just think that's important to note. Like these comps are a little bit stronger in double up than they might be in solo.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Awesome. All right, we'll move to the last comp and then wrap things up.
Yeah, so this is going to play very similarly to Anima Squad. It's just vertical Street Demon. So really, you're just putting in, as many Street Demons as you can. You want to get to 7. And then usually, probably you'll see it most commonly filled out with Strategist. But really, I mean, Yuumi, Ziggs, those are definitely flex slots. Those can be 5 costs. Those can be a bunch of different units, honestly. Like Annie, you can throw in a Kabuko. You can get the Bruiser for Mundo. That's really just to say, there's a lot of ways to kind of cap the board. The spot, I guess, that I would think about playing Street Demons from, and it's pretty straightforward. I would probably play it if I had early Street Demon and I had upgraded Street Demons, just because it can be hard to sort of pivot into. But you can always put brand items on Zyra. You can throw your Samira items on Jinx for a little bit if you need to. But yeah, the comps like these, the vertical comps, like I said, are generally pretty straightforward. You really just want to put the units in that match the trait. Things like Street Demon Crown are obviously good. Slamming is good because you will be leveling up faster, and like I said before, getting this comp really caps whenever you hit a Samira 2 with items. It's really hard to beat a 7 Street Demon board with the powerful Samira. So that's kind of what you're aiming for every game. So getting there faster with Slamming is good. And then I believe there's another augment besides Tagging Spree for Street Demon, like another trait-specific augment. Tagging Spree is definitely good. I guess I can't really speak on the other one because I kind of forget what it is, honestly. But oh, tagging spree, and then the one where you have to place the units like all across the board. They're both solid. You know, if you have a good start for it, I would definitely think about playing it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one really important thing for any of these vertical comps, I mean, any comp in general, this unit's just a beast. But if you have a +1 and you have a slot for a lot of these, Garen is just insane because you can just give him this whatever your vertical is, or you could give give like strategist to like Brand, for example, and now he's just like 30% damage amp for free. So if you have a +1, I'd definitely look around playing Garen for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. That goes for Anima Squad as well too. Yeah. Like just getting the 7 buff on somebody who might not normally have it is extremely strong.
Yep, I agree. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I thank you for helping with this, John. We'll kind of conclude things here. I'm sure we'll post more videos as the double up meta kind of evolves. There's obviously changes. You know, we were playing PvE since it launched, and it's already went through like 4 different metas. I mean, Fiddle's got nerfed 4 times, and he's still a demon sometimes. So we'll continue to maybe make some of these posts and go through some of these comps. But awesome. Yeah, thanks.